Good evening, everyone. I'm April Cummings in for Donna Bush with your CIG TV news brief and weather forecast. Government agencies and their partners continue to clean up today after serious flooding across the Cayman Islands as a result of Tropical Storm Eta. Staff from Hazard Management Cayman Islands have been involved in the efforts.
So the results of the preliminary damage assessment show that there's actually very little damage sustained by Tropical Storm Eta. We were very fortunate that it actually moved quite quickly. It was moving at 17 miles an hour. So it cleared out fairly swiftly, and it did actually drop a lot of rain though, and because the ground was so moist, we did see quite a number of trees also falling. Some people had the trees fall on top of their cars, unfortunately. There were some reports of some flooding in homes in low-lying areas, but generally, the damage assessment indicated that there was very little damage generally in the Cayman Islands, so we were fortunate about that.
Mr. Boxall thanked everyone whose contributions helped the Cayman Islands weather the storm.
I do think, though, it does show the importance of trimming back trees. We didn't actually have hurricane-force winds, but even so, a lot of trees were falling. So if you can reduce the surface area of the trees by trimming them back, that helps a lot. And think about where you're going to position your car. Think about what trees might potentially fall on top of the roof of your house. We've still got a few weeks left before the end of the hurricane season, so just encourage everybody to think these things through. And again, I think we were very fortunate. While we did have a lot of flooding on the roads, and quite a few trees did come down as well, some poles were damaged. Overall, the damage was very minimal. We were fortunate. And CUC linesmen and also the NRA crews, they got out there very quickly. Department of Environmental Health, and it's all looking much better. The island's looking pretty much back to normal, so we're grateful for that.
Today, as a result of the activation from the NEOC, National Emergency Operations Center, shelter operations were in full effect across Grand Cayman. So at this time, we have just, as a result of the all clear, cut down or shut down all shelter operations, and we are now collecting the shelter kits as well as resource packs from the various shelter teams across Grand Cayman. The shelter teams were very well organized. They responded to the government administration building, collected their kits, and as the all clear was given, everyone quite efficiently returned their kits. All in all, I would say shelter operations ran quite well. The communication via radio and telephone went quite well. We didn't have very many people within the shelters who were sheltering, just a few. The numbers were very low at each one of the shelters. But all in all, I think it was a good day, thank goodness. The storm wasn't any worse.
The Cayman Islands gave the all clear on Eta at the weekend. There is, though, still a flood risk over South Florida and western Cuba from the storm. We'll have more weather for you a little later on. The Honorable Premier accompanied the Cayman Islands Regiment this weekend on a tour of areas of Grand Cayman hit hard by Tropical Storm Eta. The Premier praised the new force for boosting Cayman's crisis resources.
It was good to be able to do a tour of the affected areas, or at least some of them, with the regiment this evening. But the first thing I want to say is I want to give God thanks that Cayman has fared so well. We've come through another one of these challenges. There seem to be more and more all the time, and this year 2020 seems to be a very special year in that regard. But it was very good to be able to see how well the regiment has performed as we add them to our list of first responders and help build Cayman's resilience to deal with these situations. So very grateful to everybody who has worked so hard over the course of the last few days to keep us safe and to limit the amount of damage that properties have suffered.
The Cayman Islands Regiment, who had been providing support to emergency services since early in the morning, told the Premier about their experiences while the storm was over Grand Cayman.
For us, it's an opportunity to serve the community and be part of an overall response, helping people that are vulnerable or in danger during the storm and after the storm, helping them to relocate to shelters, checking in with the vulnerable in the community and that sort of thing. It's gone very well. We had 7 groups across the island, and we were brought in by emergency services as needed. So we spent much of the day going from district to district helping different folks.
The Cayman Islands Regiment is the island's first formal military formation, and its primary role is to provide disaster relief and security within these islands and the wider Caribbean region. $32.2 million, that's the entire public sector surplus for the first 9 months of 2020, according to government's newly released unaudited financial results. Core government shows a surplus of $30.4 million, with bank account balances of cash and deposits standing at $498.8 million. This is less than anticipated in the 2020 budget due to the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the total expenses of core government have risen by $56.3 million, in part due to the significant costs associated with COVID-19 suppression measures. These costs are expected to increase over the remainder of the year. Today's partly cloudy skies will continue into tomorrow with a 40% chance of morning showers, winds of 5 to 10 knots coming from the south to southeast, and the sea state moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Isolated showers along with moderate winds and rough seas will continue to linger over the next 24 hours due to a spiral band from Tropical Storm Eta, which is now located north of the western tip of Cuba. Radar images are showing some isolated showers in and around the Cayman area, moving towards the northeast. For the latest weather update, you can go online to weather.gov.ky or download their app CINWS. That wraps up today's news brief here on CIG TV. I'm April Cummings, in for Donna Bush.